Thanks for tuning in to your daily dose of quick real estate updates, local housing trends, and market data, plus tips, tools, and strategies to help you buy, rent, or invest with confidence. You're now getting ready with RealiCare Reports, powered by the innovation team, Cami and Rex. Now go grab your favorite morning breakfast, coffee or tea, and let's enjoy today's episode.
Welcome to the deep dive. So we've got some source material sent in by a listener, and it looks like it points to something, well, pretty significant happening down on Florida's Space Coast.
That's right. We've got a mix here. Articles, press releases, official statements. Our mission today is really to unpack these, figure out what's actually going on with this major defense contractor, their expansion plans and what it means locally, but maybe also for the bigger picture, maybe decades down the line.
Okay, let's get into it then. The key players seem to be Lockheed Martin, the U.S. Navy, and the local Economic Development Commission there, the EDC of Florida's Space Coast. And the really big news seems to revolve around a new facility.
Yeah, exactly. So the core announcement, based on what we're seeing here, is Lockheed Martin undertaking a pretty strategic expansion right there in Titusville, Florida.
And it's concrete. They've given a date for the announcement, January 31, 2025. And a big number, too, $140 million. That's earmarked for what they're calling an advanced manufacturing facility.
Right. And it's sizable. The plans mention about 225,000 square feet, and they seem to think it'll be up and running fairly quickly. They're targeting readiness sometime in 2027.
Okay, so that's the what. A big, expensive building, Titusville 2027. But the why?
Yeah.
That seems to tie into something, massive, right? What's this place actually going to make?
This is really the crucial part, pulling directly from these sources. The main reason for this new facility, it's to produce components for the next generation strategic missile program.
And they name it. The documents specify the Trident II D5 LE2.
Exactly, which links straight back to a major contract. The U.S. Navy awarded Lockheed Martin, it looks like a $383 million modification to an existing contract, specifically for developing this Trident D5 LE2 missile. And the sources mention it's a cost plus incentive fee and cost plus fixed fee. That structure often tells you something about the complexity, development work involved.
So the building is directly for this big Navy program, the D5 LE2, described as the second life extension for the current Trident D5, sort of an integrated, modernized version.
And what's really interesting is where this new missile is headed. It's designed for the Navy's brand new Columbia-class ballistic missile submarines, the next generation of their sea-based nuclear deterrent.
And the sources point out something kind of incredible about the timeline here. The D5 LE2 program is meant to keep this whole strategic weapon system credible all the way through 2084. When you hear that date, 2084, wow, that's, nearly 60 years away? That's just an immense planning horizon.
It really is. Puts that long-term strategic thinking into perspective, doesn't it? And the current D5 missile, the one this LE2 builds on, it's noted right here as already being the most advanced ballistic missile out there. It's currently on the U.S. Ohio-class subs and the U.K.'s Vanguard class. So that international partnership is key.
Yeah, and Lockheed Martin's history here is deep. The sources mentioned, 70 years this year? 70 years supporting the Navy's Fleet Ballistic Missile Program, the FBM program. And the stated reason for all this continued investment, this development, it's pretty clear. To allow the U.S. and the U.K. under that Polaris sales agreement to maintain credible deterrence against evolving threats, basically.
So yeah, it's not just about putting up a new building. It's part of a huge, decades-long strategy. High-stakes, cutting-edge tech, international cooperation, all aimed at, projecting power and keeping things stable.
Which brings us from that, global strategic level right down to the ground, the Space Coast itself. What does this actually mean for the folks there, for the local economy?
Well, the most obvious thing, the most tangible impact mentioned right away in the documents is jobs. The expansion is projected to add up to 300 new jobs, and they stress highly skilled jobs right there in Titusville.
And not just any jobs. They state the average annual wage, $89,000. That's a significant boost for the local economy, right? Pulls in high-talent workers.
Definitely. And there's also mention of a potential military presence, too. The sources anticipate maybe up to 100 naval personnel could be based there. That's on top of the 300 Lockheed Martin jobs.
We also saw some quotes in here from local and state officials. They're connecting this project to, broader economic development efforts, Linda Weatherman, she's the president and CEO of the EDC. She linked this directly to, long-term work they've been doing. She mentioned reversing a BRAC recommendation. That's the base realignment and closure process, right?
Right, yeah. Military base restructuring.
And how this builds on other investments they've landed, like the Strategic Weapons System Ashore facility, moving the FBM headquarters there, a logistics facility.
Yeah, she's quoted describing it as impactful growth that will benefit the Space Coast for decades to come. Really emphasizes that long view. And then District 1 Commissioner Katie Delaney, she reinforces the national security angle, says the expansion is integral to national security and assures a promising future for residents. Hits on leadership in defense, innovation, and those high-quality jobs again.
And Florida's Secretary of Commerce, J. Alex Kelly, brings in the state angle. He references Governor DeSantis' leadership, state investment in aerospace, aviation, military defense, and basically connects that strategy to landing these kinds of high-skill, high-wage jobs and wins for Florida's economy.
Yeah, all these voices in the sources, local and state, they clearly see this as a win-win. Economic development aligning perfectly with, critical national security needs. The material flat out says the announcement further builds out the direct support to the readiness of America's warfighting Navy capabilities on Florida's Space Coast.
So this facility, these jobs, they're directly supporting the military's ability to use and maintain a key strategic asset.
Okay, so let's try and bring this all together for you, the listener. What are the main takeaways after digging through this material? Well, I think it's clear a major defense contractor, Lockheed Martin, is putting down serious roots with a big long-term investment, $140 million for this new facility on the Space Coast. And it's not just any manufacturing. It's very specifically tied to a critical decades-long national security program, that next-gen strategic missile, the Trident D5 LE2, the one designed to be credible way out to 2084.
Right. And that huge strategic investment translates directly into tangible benefits locally. We're talking hundreds of high-paying skilled jobs, reinforcing that region's role, not just in space, but in defense infrastructure, military readiness.
Yeah, it's a really powerful example of how these huge defense programs connect with, regional economies, state development strategies. You've got the local EDC pulling in investment, and that investment directly supports a program aimed at global deterrence for, potentially the next half century plus.
Yep. Okay, let's wrap up this deep dive then. We've looked at Lockheed Martin's $140 million plan, a 225,000 square foot facility in Titusville, Florida. Should be running by 2027, its main job. Making parts for the Trident II D5 LE2 missile that's backed by a $383 million Navy contract tweak. And it's all about supporting strategic capability through 2084.
And the local impact. Up to 300 skilled jobs, average wage $89,000, maybe 100 Navy personnel too, directly boosting Navy capabilities right there on the Space Coast. So here's maybe a final thought to leave you with, picking up on that incredible timeline we talked about. Just think about that time scale again, 2084. Supporting a defense capability designed to be credible that far out, what does that actually mean, for technology development, for trying to guess geopolitics, even for supply chains and workforce planning, when you're working on something meant to last over 60 years into a future we can barely picture? That's the kind of long-term thinking that's embedded in projects like this one.
Well, that wraps up today's episode of RealiCare Reports, where real estate meets real life. For more updates, tools, and insights that will help you buy, rent, or invest with confidence, be sure to follow, subscribe, stay connected, stay informed, and stay ready. Until next time.